Dealing with confrontation.
Confrontation is usually a face-to-face discussion among people in conflict. Despite its negative connotation, confrontation, when properly used, can help both parties understand issues more clearly without feeling undue stress, guilt, or inadequacy. Use active and supportive listening techniques to avoid breakdowns that prevent effective communication. When to use or avoid confrontation. Avoid confrontation when you're angry. Most people regret the things that they say in anger. Do confront someone when you're in control and when you can express your feelings constructively, and only when you have a well-thought-out reason for doing so. Once you've decided to use confrontation, we will also need to know how to confront people. Here are some things to remember. Express your feelings constructively. Think before you speak. Understand the situation and the person. Be empathetic. Be tentative, but not wishy-washy. And proceed gradually. We don't want to come on full tilt when we could have a conversation instead of getting angry. The do's and don'ts of confronting. Do convey that you understand and you value the relationship with a person. Do go slowly and think about what you want to communicate. Do try to understand the other person's position. And do listen carefully to what the other person is trying to communicate. Don't communicate the solution, rather focus on the problem. We are eager to tell people what to do rather than letting them figure it out on their own. Don't stop communicating. Don't use put-downs, and don't rely on nonverbal hints to communicate your thoughts. The sandwich approach to constructive criticism is the most effective way to present criticism to others. The sandwich approach is a technique for offering constructive feedback. This allows us to be sensitive but still communicate our criticism. The sandwich approach consists of 3 sequential elements: a positive statement, a future orientation instruction, and a compliment. An example of the sandwich approach. Remember, there are 3 parts: the positive statement, future-oriented statement, and a compliment. The positive statement: you're really working hard out there. Once the person has become receptive through hearing the opening positive comment, then they will pay attention to the second part, the instructive feedback. The instructive feedback: maybe next time try to slow down and not get ahead of the music. The key aspect to the sandwich approach is the future-oriented instruction. This provides the instruction, behavior, or strategy for the person to use the next time they perform a skill. This comment must not ridicule, embarrass, or criticize the individual. And finally, the compliment. You're getting there. Keep up the good work. After giving the instructional feedback, make sure that the individual still feels good about their performance. The coach-athlete communication. Some practical suggestions. Recognize individual differences among athletes. Use a style of communication that is comfortable. Be generous with praise and encouragement. Use consistent nonverbal communication. Exercise personal self-control. Be supportive and empathetic with needs. And discuss communication needs with the team and individual athletes. The coach-athlete communication is one of the most important relationships in sport, because it has been demonstrated to determine the athlete's satisfaction, self-esteem, and performance accomplishments. The complete dyad is a questionnaire called the Fundamental Interpersonal Relations Orientation Behavior, was administered to coaches and athletes to assess their self-perceived, wanted, and expressed typical social behaviors in the need areas of inclusion, control, and affection. Coaches and athletes were determined to be either compatible or incompatible. When coaches and athletes are compatible, They have good communication and rewarding behaviors were present with the coach-athlete interaction. When coaches and athletes are incompatible, they are lacking communication and rewarding behavior is likely to be absent. It was concluded that inclusion behavior was the predominant factor contributing to incompatibility in coach-athlete dyads, so quality communication is the key. When examining coach-athlete communication, we find that good communicators establish open lines of communication, are honest, fair, and consistent, and respect athletes or workers inside of the athletic setting. So how do we know if communication is good? Acknowledge that both verbal and nonverbal communication can take multiple forms. We also must acknowledge that there has to be a balance between communication and the observed compatibility of the coach-athlete model. Some communication models say we should look for positive and negative manifestations of closeness and like mutual respect, common beliefs, trust, or even love. Communication, dedication, sacrifice, and satisfaction. We should also look for complementary behaviors, how well the coach and athlete complement each other's strengths, roles, tasks, and abilities to adapt. So what makes coach-athlete communication so good? There's quality interaction, communication, and respect among both parties. The barriers to coach-athlete communication include a difference of opinions resolvable by common sense, the clash of personalities in the group, a conflict of task or social roles in the group, struggling for power or status between each other, and either leader or group communication breakdowns.